It's the Stranger Nerds here. We have myself, Connor Vandermark. We have Thomas Grant, and we have Nick Izzo. I don't did the full name today, Thomas, but I
Yeah,
did.
I'm real fancy today.
I just read your name on your screen. It says Thomas Grant. I was not
I,
expecting that. I'm like,
I
oh,
feel a little bit more official than I should right now. I don't know how to do this.
it's a
I
slow
should be more
transition
dressed
to
up
no
this.
beard.
I don't think I've ever called you Thomas in my entire life. It'd just be too
It's
weird.
it's weird, like with a name like Thomas, because I get a variety of different people call me different things. That like even at work, I get Thomas, Tommy, and Tom. So it's like it's just one of those things. Thomas just sounds too official though. I usually go by Tommy or Tom, but yeah, I
The
don't
only
know.
abbreviation the only abbreviation I get is Con, and that's for my one aunt. That's it.
Con.
Con. That's it. I'm like, it's that only one aunt ever does it to me. That's it.
Con Air Vandemark,
Con.
reporting from Dubai.
It sounds like a plane. Con Air.
Oh, did this
Con Air.
reference go over your head, Connor? It did, didn't
What?
it?
Con Air?
Con Air is a movie.
I did not know that.
It's a very famous Nicolas Cage movie, but that's okay. I'll forgive.
One of the many.
What else is new? All right, so we have
another movie to have Mitchell yell at you for not watching.
There's a lot of them. So we have here season 3, chapter 6. You spelled that completely wrong in the show doc. Pluribus Unum. And for those who don't know, that means of
Pluribus.
It means of one, of many one, which you can see in the dollar bills and stuff. Which we'll tie that in why that name's significant later on in the episode. So
very, very significant to the ending of this episode. But
plus, it's nice with the good old American theme, especially when the whole Russian subplot going on here, or plot, I guess you can say. So, but introductory thoughts on this episode.
So Nick, what'd you feel?
What did I feel? Always comes to me.
Well, it's you,
of course.
First time watching it. I want to know how you
thought. So I liked a lot of this episode, except for I would say anything that involved Mike or Elle, because they just my god they piss me off so much. I can't even begin to like tell you how distasteful I find their acting to the point where like I contemplate just skipping through all of their scenes. I really do, because it's that cringy, and I'm like, God, this like, can y'all just shut up and focus on the objective at hand? But no, nobody plays for the objective, and it's oh god.
I know Mitchell and I have talked about this, and I feel like you're in the same boat as me, where I just truly hate Mike, but I don't know if it's Finn Wolfhard's acting.
He whines and moans about
really
everything.
Good. But either that, he's just really good at acting like a whiny little shithead.
Yes,
which
everything.
is what they're trying to do.
It's
like, I hate the character, not the actor.
I obviously don't have anything against the actor as a person, but like the character itself is just I find so annoying.
This is why I have repeatedly said over the past like first 2 seasons, I said I enjoy Mike now, but once season 3 hits, you're gonna fucking hate him.
Dude, he got introduced to a girl that would talk to him in season 1, and ever since then he's been just a fucking douche. That's just it's just what it's been. That's just but I digress. Sorry, I felt a little passionately about that. So my bad. I had to
just tell us what grinds your gears, Nick.
No, it's just that.
We'll get to it later. We'll dive more. We'll dive more into that later.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you there, and I feel like the writing of it like is a little awkward, but at the same time, like especially who Mike and Elle is as people, as characters, I'm not surprised that it went this direction, because the fact that like you have one who is I don't even know how to describe Elle. Antisocial is not the right word, because she is social. It's more so the fact that like no context to anything in the world.
Yeah.
And then you have Mike, who is the your stereotypical nerd who, no, with his first love, no, because that's what it is. What's for real, and
Yep.
but like him actually not being, again, emotionally immature to actually handle and understand how to actually be mature about things, honestly.
I,
So
I
yeah.
honestly see Mike more of a. It's not necessarily just the love aspect of it, but he's very tight with his friend group.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't just go out searching for other friends. Like he's got his few ride or dies. That's all he needs. That's all he wants. He doesn't want any change to that group or that
Mm-hmm.
like social
and
dynamic.
and and change is a big word for that, because how much change that he's dealt with, and
Yeah,
he's trying to keep some normalcy now after like having L back, but at the same time, like everything is not normal for him in the first place.
because
So.
like we even saw that in the beginning with when Max first got introduced. Like obviously we knew Max was not going to be a love interest, but he was just
Mm-hmm.
so against her being in the party just because he didn't want anybody being replaced. He's got a few
Yeah.
people. That's all he wants.
And the thing is, like, that trust is something that is definitely built because of the fact that, like, because he is the friend group that he's with is the people who are the ones who get picked on and the ones who deal with the shit that he's gone through. No, it makes sense that trust has to be built up first.
Yeah.
So, um, let's be real, like, like our friend group, like we were the misfits pretty much. Like that's kind of similar how it was.
That,
Like
Yeah.
on
but
our
even still, we were social and had other friend groups outside of our primary friend group. Like you had your hockey crew, I had like the Kendall Park crew. Like we all had little other sects of friends that we hung out with, but like our group was the main group we always hung out with.
so
Like
I,
like
I would
like,
just I would
like our
disagree with
Kendall
that
Park
for me,
people
me
didn't hang
personally.
out with as much, obviously except for Izzo, but Izzo's the exception.
Like, at least for me personally, I know we went all to the same high school, but like I was like I had my guys I was like played hockey with, but I was never like close friends with any of them. Like it was more like close acquaintances, I guess the best way to put it. Because like I was like no guys that I played hockey with, I didn't really go over their house or anything. The one I was, I guess, closest with was Casey. That was it, really.
And
And
Muha,
because like Muha, I would consider part of the Misfits though,
yeah,
because the fact that he would he didn't really have its own space that like no he had I guess his friend group was more closer to like his other friend group was I guess Ryan, but like otherwise like overall like
yeah.
for me at least like my group was you guys and that was it. And no, I guess my only extension I brought to the group was Nico and that was it.
But
Like
that was a legendary addition to our team.
I'm well aware of that, but that's what happens with the bumblefuck of your town.
Yeah. I mean, who else would provide us with vanilla wafers, and who else's
I
mom would
was
just
just
let us
thinking
into
about
the
that.
house with him not even being home? Like,
I gotta reach out to him again.
Oh man.
That whole family I miss.
I mean,
Anyway, but enough for our lives from way back when. This is a Stranger Things broadcast.
reminiscing on old times. That's how
Oh,
it is. It's we're
um,
just living a little nostalgically this evening. Just how Stranger Things brings a whole shit ton of nostalgia to us every day.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. Want me to take the wheel on this one, Tommy, or
Yeah,
would you like to do so?
go for
All
it.
right. So, opening scene, we have I think you termed the Russian party, which I would call
Well,
them the invasion party.
I try to like when I write my
Russian
notes, try and
party.
divide it up into little group names. And it used to be easy because it was just like one or two people. But now we have so many different parties, it's hard to name them. So I was like, we'll just go Russian party. It's easy to figure out who that is.
I would say invasion party for me personally. But we have Steve, Dustin, Robin, and Erica. They see the gate opening up. Of course, Dustin and Steve are like, "Oh shit, this ain't good." And Robin and Erica are a little more clueless. And then they notice the guard that Steve knocked out is now missing, and Alarms go off, and they're like, ah, shit. So they had a nice little chase scene. One thing I did notice that in the chase scene that there was no shots actually fired.
No.
Everybody carrying guns. No one's shooting though. I thought it was
Well,
very funny.
I'm curious if the reason that happened was because of so many chemicals down there. Because you just saw barrels of shit all over the place. And we don't know exactly what was powering this weapon. I would assume it's some sort of possibly nuclear or some sort of like really intense chemicals that you don't really want possibly catching fire and exploding inside a isolated bunker. That probably wouldn't end well for anybody.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, they're chasing unarmed kids. I don't think their first thought was to, hey, let's just shoot them.
Yeah. So
No, but interrogation wasn't too far behind.
yeah.
Well, that's just Russian tactics. Russians don't hold back on that.
Oh,
So they run into the lab away from the soldiers, and nice little kind of Benny Hill scene where they're all kind of ducking and dodging away from each other, and then they get into a room. Dustin and Erica find pretty much a duct that they were able to climb through, and they were trying to get Steve and Robin to go with them. Steve and Robin pretty much were sacrificial lambs, and like, no, you guys go, we'll hold them off. So nice for those two to really take the brunt of what they're go through go through next.
And it was definitely more of a Steve move at that point. Steve pulled the older, the big brother babysitter card of just get the fuck out of here. Steve just always takes one for the team, especially for Dustin. Like, Dustin, he will die for.
Yeah. The thing is, too, like, the fact that Robin did the same thing, I thought was very, like, no. The word I'm more looking for is, I can't put my finger on it right now. Probably, like, because the fact that her bond with them isn't as strong, I'm kind of surprised that she decided to stick it out with Steve. Because, let's be real. This whole events of things happening, it has been, like, what? 3 days? 4 days?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, every season seems to be
so.
less than a week long, so it's a couple days worth. But I think we'll learn a little bit more as they talk later on, but we kind of learned that Robin's kind of in the same boat. She's kind of just a loner, doesn't really have many friends. And when you come across a friendship like Steve and Dustin where they're just goofy and kind of free to be themselves, it's kind of hard to not just easily quick fit in and be like, I'm not going to be judged by these people. So I think she quickly kind of clung to them as like, even though I pretend to hate them, I truly love them.
Yeah. I ship those two so hard. So, and then we have on the other side of the opening scene is the party that's at the hospital. So, which is pretty much the D&D gang plus Max, or I guess Max is part of that group now too, and then the Nancy and Jonathan. So Will gets the whole goosebumps knowing that the Mind Flayer is here. So I wouldn't consider the Mind Flayer being, I guess it is the embodiment of that glob monster that's in the hospital.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to it kind of at how they end it, but they still go off of the hive mind, but they kind of evolutionized the aspect of how the hive mind works with this creature now. So I think every person that's infected or every aspect of the monster is connected to that original Mind Flayer. So I think this new monster is the embodiment of the Mind Flayer. Like, I don't think it has a conscience if the Mind Flayer were to be detached from it.
Yeah, it's just weird things like, no, to me, how I think the Mind Flayer currently is the main host that we see in the bottom of the steelworks, and then these are more independent functions, independent sections that have orders and kind of more animalistic in a way. So
yeah,
kind of like the Demogorgons were, but kind of in season 2, where it's like they had their own thing going on, because like you have the personalities of the people are still there, but at the same time, No, they are still underneath the influence of the mind flayer.
Yeah, I think it's fully the mind flayer because when Will gives his explanation a couple episodes ago, when he was like, it's just always cold and the mind flayer basically just lays dormant until he wants to use you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, in the last episode, when he was like they're activated or something like that with the reporter guys. So I think the mind
Yeah.
flayer is in control of all of the flayed individuals. So once those individuals are killed, the mind flayer fully takes over, and that's where we get the little sludge monster from. That's how I see it, but I could be wrong.
I see it more like sleeper cells in a way.
Yeah,
And then
Kind of a little bit of both.
yeah, so
it could
a
be.
bit of both.
Oh.
So we get the once Nancy closed the door, I was like, this thing's gonna go underneath the door. This stupid freaking ooze thing.
Yep.
The glob. So the thing oozes away underneath the door and through the gate, the grate that's in the door. Jonathan's trying to save her, not doing that well, trying to break glass, and the glass is too much for them, I guess. And then Elle comes in just in time as the nurse, doesn't really leave her chair, but it's like, no, wait, don't go. And
Useless.
Please don't
part
listen
of
to my job.
Useless.
2 at a time, please. So 11 goes and saves Nancy and starts throwing this thing like a rag doll. Oh, so much fun. And then chucks out the window, and then it oozes down into the sewer drain. And it's when we get the part where we see the ooze connecting from the sewers into the main body, and then we see the scene with Billy and Heather saying, "It's time." So
Shit's about
their
to go.
main plan is moving
Dun,
forward.
dun, dun.
Yep. Now, there's one part to the monster that also doesn't make sense to me. It might just be a technicality that they messed up on. But when the monster oozed under the door, the entire monster oozed under the door. Nothing was left behind. But when it goes into the sewer grates, a whole collection of bones was left behind. How did those bones make it under the door when it was slid under?
Movie magic.
I know. It was just something I noticed, like after seeing it so many times. I was like,
You
wait.
bring up-
I was like,
You bring up a fair
how did
point.
those bones get there? But that's
That went
just
through my mind as well.
That's
a
not even
little,
what I noticed. I actually got mad because I'm like, here's this goop monster that's got probably all these various attacks, and what is the first thing that it tries to do? Not eat Nancy or, absorb it, but basically tries to bitch slap. I'm like, come on, what are we doing? Like you've got all these attacks probably, and you're using like your weakest one, and then on top of that, you just menacingly walk on top where you could have just I'm tired of these villains pausing and waiting.
because
You
you
could have
have
just
to give
eaten.
the hero of the show a moment to arrive.
Oh, I know. Otherwise,
It's
you'd never have a
it's,
hero, honestly, because the villains just
it's the
talk.
physical connection, as in the villain monologue.
Yes,
It's the same thing. It's just like instead of kill the person, let's just beat him up a little bit and stall some time, so that way the main hero can come and defeat me, and then I'll have to fight them again.
I know. It's just like I'm just
Like-
looking at him like you could have eaten her like 5 times by now. Like, what's going on?
It's like because the first thing I thought of was Pokemon. It was like, oh, like in our case, Muck. Muck used Tail Whip. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes, that is
Nancy's
perfect
defenses were slightly
analogy.
lowered.
That is a perfect analogy.
And yes, I know Muck does not have Tail Whip in his moveset, but like still, like
No.
it's Tail Whip is one of those moves that like it does something, it lowers an attack, but like still, no one use first thing that's always removed by
Be like sand attack to lower accuracy, and it would just shoot that like 5 times at you.
Well, that
like,
might have
"Oh,
been
use a
effective
move."
to 11. 11 might have missed the force attack on him.
like we didn't really need like I guess the alien-inspired scream in front of Nancy's face.
No.
Like just
No.
like I really went through my mind. I was like, is Nancy gonna get killed? I'm like, I don't think so, but like,
However,
this is a way to
it was effective in finally like showing Nancy actually afraid. Like she's never really shown much fear in the show. Like she's shown concern and being
True.
upset, being angry. We've never seen her like she had that look in her eye of like I'm gonna fucking die right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
we haven't seen that come out of Nancy, which I thought was she did a great job in that scene though, like acting wise. Which
Yeah,
I think was probably
definitely.
the only useful part in that scene, but yeah, it wasn't needed.
All right. So then, after our wonderful opening title card, we have the Fun Fair, which I thought was a very fun, like, new kind of setting we have. Because I'm kind of curious how this is going to play into effect in the future. So we have Mayor Klein coordinating his fair that he referenced in the very first episode, to really drum up those voters. And he sees Grigori kind of chilling out by the side, which is one of my favorite rides back in the fair with you guys. But like
Dude,
Gravitron, that thing
Gravitron was
slaps.
epic.
That thing slaps.
Now, of course, I mean, I'm sure you were like me and tried to, flip yourself upside down right before the ride started, so you were stuck upside down the whole ride.
Mm-hmm.
That always added a whole layer of entertainment to it.
Quick go. Favorite ride at the fair?
I would have to go Mousetrap.
Whew, that thing scared the shit out of me all
I
the
know.
time.
That was the best adrenaline rush I ever had was going on that ride. But you have to sit on the outside seat because you feel like you're gonna fucking fly over every time that thing turns.
Nope. My anxiety cannot take that.
The best seat. Nick, what about you?
I didn't have one because I was afraid of them. I didn't want to see a clown, so I just didn't go.
Wait, you hold on. You never went to any of the fairs in South
No.
Brunswick?
No,
Not even
There
Middlesex
weren't
County?
clowns there.
no.
There weren't clowns there. Like, you grew up not having fair
Oh.
food?
Middlesex County Fair was right
I
down the street from my house.
Yeah.
I don't know. I maybe went once. Like, I don't remember it.
Allie and I
enough to-
made sure we went like every year when they came into town.
I don't know. Maybe I third wheeled with you guys. I don't know. I really
No, you never
couldn't-
came.
Yeah, so I
We
probably never
solo
went.
because we would usually just go and get a bunch of fair food and bail
Yeah.
out.
No, I never cared for it. I
All right,
just.
well, we'll have to bring you to one eventually because,
Uh,
have you ever had funnel cake? Please tell me you at least had funnel cake before.
Yes, yeah, I've had funnel cake, of course. Yeah.
Because like, there's nothing better than going to the fair and having like funnel cake, the butterfly fries. Those are always fucking delicious.
Fried
Funnel
pickles.
cake is good. Yes, I will admit, but yeah, no, I'm not a fair or carnival
We'll change that.
person.
We'll make it. There's no
That's-
clowns there. There's no
Okay.
clowns.
Well, I wouldn't know anyway.
There was
We're
no
gonna
clowns.
go,
There are
I'm
no
gonna
clowns.
drag you along, and I'm gonna make sure Connor goes on Mousetrap with me.
I would go on a Mousetrap. I would still, I'd be white knuckling the whole time on that thing. My two favorite, Gertron would be my favorite because I just love just getting pushed into the wall. So much fun. And then I would say the other one. I know some fairs have them, some don't. It's a really simple ride, but going to swing carousel.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's relaxing. It's just kind of a chill thing. I'm like, all right, I like just you're just high in the air, just whipping around. I'm like, all right, cool.
Now, were you a person that used to bring like M&Ms or something to fling off and try and hit people while you were flying around up in the air?
No.
No,
I'm a nice person.
we're
I
not
am a
those
nice
types
person.
of people,
Thank you very
Tommy.
much.
We would eat the.
Well, I
M&Ms.
tried to like used to target my family and friends, and I would try and hit them off while I was going around every time.
No, if I brought
I guess
food,
no.
I was eating it.
No. I'm eating that food. I paid
Yeah,
for that.
I'm eating that food.
I would be the
throw it.
glutton that I am.
Well, aside from me being
So-
an asshole at fairs, apparently, let's move on to that.
So Grigori meets up with Mayor Klein in the Gravitron, and he's pissed that he can't find. He's pissed he can't find Hopper at the moment. Especially being in a yellow convertible. That was it Todd? His name is again that they stole from him.
Yeah, the Todd father.
The Todd father. Yeah, I was right on that. So Grigori is pissed that like, oh no, you need to find him now. Like tomorrow is your deadline. And then Klein insults him. And he's like, "Oh, obviously he had the better of you." Speaking to Gory, and Gory's like, "Fuck you. I want him now." No, very much Terminator-esque. I like you brought it up in the last episode, Tommy.
And I'm sorry, but can we just talk about how fucking insanely strong Gory is? The fact that he turned on the Gravitron machine, held Klein with one hand, and basically resisted the Gravitron ride the entire time, and just basically showed Klein how big of a wimp he is. Like, goddamn, Gory's a tank.
Yeah. But keep in mind though, is that the closer to the center you are to the Gravitron, the less force you feel.
I mean, they were pretty much right up against the mats. They were on that little guardrail, but yeah, I guess.
But there's a big difference between the mats and the guardrail because of the fact that you do move faster on the edges.
True.
So it's like a record player. Like it spins at the same rate, but the edge moves faster than the inside. So there's your physics lesson today, Tommy.
Thank you, Dr. Connor.
Mr. Noble would be proud.
I ain't a doctor. I ain't got a master's yet, man. That's on the way. So then we're going to go into the Murray arc. So speaking of Hopper, so we have Hopper is with Alexi and Joyce at Murray's place. So he brings in a Burger King and icy for Alexi, which FYI, Burger King, worst food chain out of the main three. Yeah.
Are we really going to have that debate right now?
I mean, we can, but I 100%.
The worst of the big three, definitely.
Yeah, really? Absolutely.
See, I always put McDonald's.
You a Burger King kid?
I'm a Wendy's guy. If I have
Wendy's
to go...
one. Wendy's one.
All right, so are we all in agreement that Wendy's is at least one?
Nah. Big Mac. Gee. Big Mac all day.
Really?
Big Mac, yeah.
I can't do McDonald's.
Give me a Big Mac, guilty pleasure all day.
Nah.
Yeah, but to me, it's Wendy's, McDonald's, then Burger King at last. Because Burger King, the fries suck.
That's fair.
No.
Wendy's is two for me.
If I'm going to a fast food place, I'm going just for the burgers or the nuggets. I don't need the fries.
Oh, yeah.
If I want fries, I'm going to go to an actual good place that makes good fries.
McDonald's fries are amazing. If you say they're not, then you're trying to fight it.
I'm gonna say it. They're not. I absolutely hate.
You're trying to fight it. Then I'm sorry.
Do you want to fight it, bro?
If I go to McDonald's, I get the QPC. Like, nice and simple. Can't go wrong with that. Like,
see, I'll just make the alternative to all of these and say Chick-fil-A all day.
Overrated.
But I can say that is I agree. I'm a Popeyes guy. I think Chick-fil-A is good, but I prefer Popeyes personally out of them. The chicken's so much better.
Or go back to our true Jersey roots and go White Castle.
Chateau Blanc. Oh,
the destroyer of that is the alternative.
Put down a crave case myself.
The Taco Bell of burgers.
I still will never forget. I think it was at Jackie's house, that party we had. And Belford and I went to White Castle like late at night in our cowboy hats and got really strange looks when we walked in and pick up the crave cases.
Gee, I wonder why.
Well, we thought it would be fun to walk in. What?
It's like the sketchy one in New Brunswick in OS.
I know. We picked. Well, that was the closest one.
Yeah.
But me and Belford thought it'd be funny just to wear cowboy hats and waltz into the White Castle and order some crave cases.
Hey, there's now one East Brunswick now, which is much better.
Oh yeah,
there's one in South Brunswick too.
That's right.
I was trying to teach people down here in Virginia about White Castle and the beautiful, horrific scenes that it can cause.
But it's so good. It's so good though. Like my dad have traditions. Like usually, like after Devils games, we'll go get Chateau Blanc, and then it just hits the spot every single time. What's the Harold Kumar? That's the movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Classic. Yes, it is. And by the way, people, we lived right in that area because they went to
True.
Princeton and they went to White Castle in Woodbridge, so which is
Sorry.
like a half an hour ride. So we were literally right in the neck of the woods right there. So back to Stranger Things again. We were so many tangents today.
I'm loving
I
it.
love
Oh, is that what we were watching? Oh, sorry, forgot.
it. So they're trying to target Alexi about what they're trying to make. You know, Alexi is now annoyed that his Slurpee isn't cherry. But even though Hopper gave him a strawberry one because it didn't have cherry, and
Which I find
so
odd because I feel like cherry is the standard across the board. All places have cherry. I've never seen a strawberry slushing machine.
I also found that weird. I was like, I
So
don't
I'm
know
calling
agreed.
BS.
how they don't
I'm
have
calling
cherry.
BS on that Hopper.
Yeah.
I think Hopper did it
I
on
always do
purpose.
the Coke cherry mix up.
Mm-hmm.
Hell
It's
yeah.
the way to
Yep.
go.
Yep.
So we have the kind of standoff where Alexi is wanting he's making demands, you know, wanting the American food and like doing things, and Hopper is kind of fed up with his shit. So he kind of calls his bluff of no. He calls Alexi's bluff on how much leverage Alexi has. That makes sense wording wise.
Yeah.
So he kicks him out. He gives him the keys to his cuffs in the car. I'm like, all right, no, go, like do your thing. And he closes the door, and both Murray and George like, dude, really? Like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? And Hopper is cool as a cucumber, just waiting. And like the car starts up, like you hear the music in the background, and like, you know, looks like he's gonna leave. And they all walk outside, watching Alexi about to leave out of the hideout, and then he stops, pulls back, and is like, all right, no, strawberry is a good flavor. And I gotta say, huge cojones on Hopper for that.
It definitely is a great scene in showing how good of a cop Hopper is because a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, when you're investigating people, like, you need to know everything about this person. And a lot of things people investigate when you're investigating people is learning their habits and what they do. And the fact that Hopper knew, like, this guy isn't in any sort of power, he's fucking scared because these Russian people that he's working with probably think that he's deserted, and if they find him, they're probably just going to kill him on the spot because he abandoned his post and didn't try and come back. So Hopper
I
knew,
don't
like,
think it's as I don't think deserve is the right word. I think the proper word here is compromised. That he's right now a liability, and in the eyes of the Russians, he is better off dead now because of the fact that no, he honestly he possibly gave up secrets, and there's no way to him confirm that he did not.
yeah, I mean either or, either term, but Hopper knows that Alexei can't go back and that he's stuck with Hopper. So Hopper basically put the ball in his court and said, "All right, you know, go ahead, see how this works out if you go out on your own," which was a ballsy move on Hopper's
Mm-hmm.
part, but it paid off.
It really did. So Alexei calls the machine that they're making the key,
Yep.
and the houses around where the Russians built transformers to kind of steal power from the power grid. And so Alexei makes an interesting comment: is that the key worked in Russia. However, that was only half the equation. Location was important. And they said the other half equation was Hawking's because of the fact that a gate was opened here previously. Or he called it a door. But as we know, we call it the gate. So that's when Joyce and Hopper are like, oh fuck, they know. And Joyce is like, I need to call my kids because the logical reaction there. And then the other part too is a kind of realization like to my first thought was like how the Russians find out in the first place about this.
I was just about
And
to ask the same thing because that is a very big piece of information for them to be like, oh yeah, they knew about Hawkins. How did that spill?
Yeah. Well, and even the gate in the first place, they try to make their own gate. So, and obviously, and like it could be a very significant thing where, no, what I'm assuming is that we're going to have both our story arcs collide, where we have the Mind Flayer, who's doing its own thing at the moment, and because we don't really know, the only objective we know currently with the Mind Flayer is that it just wants to devour everything.
Yeah,
that's the only thing we do know. But we don't know if he wants to open the gate up. We don't know anything else. We don't know if it just wants destruction or no. It's full on purpose of like connecting the upside down with the real world that, what's to say, the humans live in. So it's interesting because now we have the Russians who are trying to open their own gate for their own motives, and I think it's very interesting with, I'm kind of curious how these two interactions are going to collide with each other.
Well, we got 2 episodes left for you to find out.
Yes, we will. Then we have Hopper looks for whiskey. Murray's like, I got vodka. And I was like, all right, fine. And then they go see Alexei, ask him to turn him off. Lexi was laughing at him, like, oh, I admire your courage, but like we have the best, we have a fortress down underground with the best soldiers, best scientists. And Hopper's like, I don't give a shit. So he makes his phone call over to quote unquote the Philadelphia Library, which is definitely a operator who kind of controls calls for the government.
Oh yeah.
And he sends in his code in to go let Dr. Owens know, like, hey, we're going to need backup because shit has gotten real here down in Hawkins. Because good old fat Rambo can't take care of it. I thought it was a very funny comment by Alexi. That even skinny Rambo came in to turn off the key. So Hopper needs backup. And then Murray is freaking out because of the fact that Hopper gave them Murray's phone number. And Murray's like, are you serious? I'm now compromised. My whole little underground, away from government, like, secret hideout is now
which
gone.
Cracks me up because Murray is a private investigator. He has business cards with his phone number on it. Why was he so concerned about his phone number being compromised?
It's true.
Honestly, I wouldn't surprise me if he had like a pay phone or something rerouted into it. Like, knowing he already built a metal detector from scratch. Like, I can see him going kind of crazy mode on that.
But it was just a great scene because just the facial expression, because Murray's trying not to talk and have the government hear his voice, but he's just like, his facial expressions in that scene were just so great because he's just in the complete disbelief of like, Hopper, shut the fuck up, hang up the phone, like you're gonna give away my location. And just Hopper just straight up gives him the phone number and just has no thought whatsoever about Murray and anything that impacts him. Murray's pissed, but it's
and then the icing on the cake is Joyce calling back and is like,
yes,
like, get your ass moving because shit's going crazy, because she wants to make sure our kids are all right.
Because we're finally returning back to Mom Joyce. We had vacation cop Joyce for the past few episodes. Now we're finally coming back to, oh wait, I have kids. Russians are here. The gate's being opened again. I need to get back. And Hopper's just in, we'll just sit around and wait, and we'll wait for someone else to show up and deal with this. And that's kind of his mentality the whole season, though. He's been very, I just want to be done. I want to move on from all this. Let's let someone else that actually has the job to take care of this do it. Referring to
I think it's very funny, though, like the sense of urgency of Joyce. At first, he's like, oh, it's all about the magnets. And then once the gate was mentioned, she's like, oh shit. No. And now it's like, okay, we gotta make sure Will and Jonathan are okay. That kind of that flips a switch right inside her.
Let's be honest, she does not give a shit about Jonathan. She's purely concerned about Will.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like, have we ever seen Joyce truly actually show concern about Jonathan ever
I think because he like
throughout the show?
has most of his things together compared to like
But, but Jonathan's always just as involved with all this as Will is, if not more. And she's never once been like concerned at the fact that he's putting himself.
yeah, but he wasn't personally the one possessed, So
No,
like, I think it's just a little different with him. Yeah,
Will. Let's just agree. I mean, Will's the favorite child
yeah, oh,
at this point.
Oh
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah, that's without a doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Tommy, you include a little fun fact here. Do you want to go through it, or want me to read this whole damn thing?
That's up to you if you want to.
It's long, so
It's one of
I'll go
those.
in.
It's one of
I'll
those
go
funny
into it.
tie-ins. I mean, it's worth reading.
Well, I'll give props to the people who do marketing. So it turns out the phone number that they call, so 618-625-8313, can be called. The line actually exists in real life, and you get a message from Murray, and he leaves a voice message, which alludes to Jim Hopper's survival, which I don't know what he means by that.
It's just the tie-in. It'll be context for later.
All right. So it reads, "Hi, you reached the residence of Murray Bauman. Mom, if this is you, please hang up and call me between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. as previously discussed. Okay. If this is Joyce, thanks for calling. I've been trying to reach you. I have an update. It's about, well, it's probably best if we speak in person. It's not good or bad, but it's something. This is the best part, in my opinion. If this is anyone else but my mother or Joyce, well, you think you're real clever. Get my number, don't you? Well, here's some breaking news for you. You're not clever. You're not special. You're just simply one of the many, many nimwits who called here, and the closest you'll ever get to me is this pre-recorded message. So at the beep, do me a favor and hang up and never call here again. You're a parasite. Thank you and good day."
At least he wishes you a good day at the end.
The thing is that the fact that they had the actor like actually read it out for this voicemail is top tier great.
But let's be honest. I
Not
mean,
so
Murray
much.
is a character that any actor would probably love to play because it's just a fun character. The dialogue that this character has is always just comedically just perfect. I mean, I don't even know
So
who else could play Murray better than this guy.
now they casted him perfectly, in my opinion. So we have now is the intruders. So we have Dustin and Erica trying to move through the fence, and Dustin's explained the events of the past 2 years, and the fact that Erica accepts everything except for Lucas was involved.
Just pure sibling rivalry and hatred right there.
Yep.
Just, there's no way my brother could have done any of this. He's just a lame nerd.
Yes, very much so. And then Erica does quick math in her head about the distance it would take, or the time it would take for them to walk up the elevator. And Dustin's like, "Oh, I got you. You are a nerd."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he talks about the whole My Little Pony like background.
That was great.
I didn't.
He did have.
I
a
did not
point.
expect it to come out. I did not see that coming at all.
It's a great character growth on Erica's part because we know she's sassy. We know she's got street smarts in the fact that like she knows how to manipulate things to get things that she wants. I obviously the whole ice cream scenario from earlier last episode. But now we actually see she's actually smart and just pretends not to be.
Yeah. Like, and the fact that like Dustin is rolling off all these different backgrounds of how like My Little Pony lore. I'm like, oh my god! Like, I did not see this coming at all.
Because Dustin's a true nerd. He knows it all.
He did admit it. He did say it.
Dustin's a brony, confirmed. So we have Steve, who is violently getting interrogated at the same time by the Russian colonel. So he does not believe Steve's story of like, no, oh, I just work at the ice cream shop. And he's like, oh, you're a spy. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I work for Scoops. You want some ice cream? I'll get some ice cream.
It's just
And
it's a great interaction. I mean, it's one of those scenes where it's like, if you were on the Russian side, it's like, why would you ever think that this kid is a spy? Like, he's just a little high school kid in a ridiculous little ice cream outfit. And Steve points that out. He's like, look at what I'm wearing. Why would I be wearing this down in a secret Russian lab?
so yeah, and then he gets knocked out, and so Steve and Robbie get dragged into a different interrogation room where they're tied up together. And the Russian make a very funny comment of, "I think your friend needs doctor. Good thing we had the very best." I was like, "Ooh," and that's not a good sign. So
That was a splendid Russian accent, Connor. Please do that for the rest of the episode.
of course, comrade. Hey, I don't know Russian's enough for hockey, so I have my good share of them. So
Are you telling us you're a spy, Connor?
I'm not a spy.
I think that's exactly what he's saying.
He's definitely
we
a
gotta watch out for this guy.
Russian Canadian spy.
Damn, that's a rare breed. Russian Canadian.
Exactly.
Damn, I didn't even know that was a thing.
So we have Dustin and Erica now trying to figure out what to do. They found themselves in this giant vault of the nuclear chemical. I'm just going to say nuclear chemical storage facility.
Yeah.
And they Erica grabs a huge ass taser, which like she's like, how big are these Demogorgons again? It's like, oh, 9 feet. It's like, oh, I can find something good for this.
Yeah. She just goes straight for the weapon. Dustin's trying to figure out a way how to get out and help, and she's just like, fuck it, let's grab some weapons.
Find the keys. So we Steve comes back. Him and Robin try to shuffle the chairs over, get the pair of scissors, but fall over, and then they get into this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it now. In depth is not the right term I'm looking for.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart. That's it. Heart to heart.
There you go, buddy.
So Robin starts cracking up while Steve thinks she's crying. But like Robin's like, how am I going to die in some Russian secret bunker? It's underneath Hawkins. And then Robin starts opening up to him and like talk about reminiscing like, oh, how she sat behind Steve and like how he had his breakfast sandwich every day in the morning, always showing up late, and I do even realize that I was there this whole time.
Yeah.
And no, but she was also he was an asshole, but she was also obsessed with him, and and it's like Robin's like happy, and Steve definitely gives this sentiment back that like, oh, they're happy that they finally worked together and actually got to know each other. Because who knows, like, oh, if like Steve's like, I wish I knew you sooner, because like hell, I could have been a better person. I actually went to college and like been actually successful in my life. Robin's like on the flip side, I was like, hey, yeah, I wouldn't also be in a Russian bunker if none of this shit happened earlier. Robin's very like dark humor, but very funny about it.
Robin kind of helps put Steve into perspective what Dustin's been trying to tell him this whole time of like, you got to realize that you're not like, popularity isn't everything. You need to like kind of focus about what's important in life. And Robin kind of helps him see it from a different perspective, because it gives him flashbacks from when he actually was popular in school and actually had things going for him, and how quickly he's fallen in those past 2 years. Once he graduated, everything that he thought was important basically went away. He sees everybody else kind of moving on. He's just stuck there with nothing. And now Robin's kind of like, you were such an asshole. You were so popular. I was obsessed with you. I wish I could be you. And he kind of like clicks. He's like, yeah, no. He's like, you don't want that. It's not all it's, chalked up to be. And we finally see the emotional maturity growth from Steve Harrington himself.
I gotta say though, this is the only time I'll probably say this, but I'll give props to Nancy. of actually trying to turn like because she was a real start the reason for him to turn him around because of the fact that like
Yeah,
Nancy showed him a different side of things. Like, see, we saw in season 2 where he was actually studying and actually being a good person, like looking out
yep.
for Nancy. And no, his values changed over that time. So Nancy was definitely a great stepping stone for Steve to actually know more about himself.
Yeah.
So, that was a very touching scene. Um, then the Russian doctor comes in, and then they give the two a truth serum. That's what we think it is. They're all giggly afterwards, which I think was very funny. I don't think it was botched personally. I think it was just they were just giggly.
I mean,
Um,
they gave him some sort of heavy sedative, I think, because they were pretty loopy. It definitely wasn't truth serum. I think they were just too
Was it
goofy,
laughing
and
gas?
no,
I don't want to say they were
but
high, maybe, but it.
at the same time, it lowered their inhibitions in a way too because no, we got the scene with Robin, who definitely so they both start taunting the Colonel,
Yep.
and no, Robin's like, it's like, you guys are such idiots. Like, you guys are broadcasting this whole transmission out to the goddamn world,
Mm-hmm.
and we happen to stumble upon it. Like, how dumb can you guys be? And keep in mind, too, when Robin was not underneath the influence of this drug, she did spit in the Colonel's face earlier.
Yep.
So, like, but this is more of like, that was more Robin being serious. This is Robin's like, because I'm just so loopy from this thing, I don't give a shit. Like, no, I'm not being careful what I say because of the fact that like I have no inhibition to not do so.
Yep.
And she just kind of like no, two bunch of kids in the mall freaking found your code, and like she repeats the code back to them like, you guys are so goddamn dumb. And no, she did say this when Steve's fingernails were to be removed, but at the same time, like she was like, you guys are just dumb, and no, a bunch of freaking high school, I guess high school graduates just figured this out, and you got nothing to show for it. And then Steve starts, getting the bandwagon and starts taunting the Colonel as well,
And
mentioning how
giving away
no,
all this extra information.
really Dustin's full name for God's sakes, and uh,
I just love Robin's reaction. Like, she's just so loopy. She's like, Steve, no, like, don't say that. Don't give away
yeah,
Dustin's name.
but he was like, yeah, he's gonna bring the whole cavalry in. He's gonna kick your ass, and it's then next thing we know, we get a quick cutscene out to see freaking as we know, the chemical is corrosive, and we see a giant hole through the floor of the Russian military base with everybody running around, and there's Dustin with his wonderful with the wonderful zapper that Erica picked up, and just right into the doctor's chest.
Yep.
Oh, so great. And him and we leave off with him and Erica trying to get Steve and Ron like, can you guys run? Like, we got to go like now.
Now
And
were
they're
either of
trying
you
to make a
guys
beeline out.
were either of you guys expecting Dustin just pop out of the grate and just attack them?
No, no. In that moment, I can honestly say that is not what I expected. I didn't know what I expected, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, that was such a surprise scene. Every time I watch him, like I always forget. I'm like, oh yeah, Dustin's gonna pop out any moment now.
Like once you saw like the chemicals like on the floor, I'm like, oh, they're scheming something, but I didn't expect them like actually go in and like bust them out at that moment.
Yep.
So, and then we have our last story arc, and that is the true party, as you can say, with the D&D nerds, and then
Yeah.
plus Nancy and Jonathan. Um,
The
so
extended party.
yes, so Eleven is searching for the
Party
flayed
that
in the
I
void.
hate. Oh, sorry. Did I say that?
Yes.
Sorry, did I say that out loud? My bad.
So 11 searching for the flayed in the void continuously. And we have that little shot where we see all the piled up tissues of bloody nose rags. And So you can see like she's been kind of pushing herself trying to find this thing. And Nancy's currently on the phone trying to get in touch with other places that had about the rats and about any more chemicals are missing. Um, so first off, I mean, I don't blame Mike. Mike is worried about Elle, about them kind of like overusing her in a way. And Max and Nancy like let her do her own thing. Like she is a independent person. If she thinks she can take it, then let her try. But like honestly, I'm not against Mike thinking that personally because of the fact that like the best thing I can think of analogy wise is when it comes to athletes. When an athlete gets concussion and they know they're going to get pulled from the game, they try to hide their symptoms as best as possible because they're going to take one for the team, and the team winning is the most important thing. And Mike being the one person like who actually is looking out for Elle's well being, she's like, I don't think this is a great idea.
And,
And
and also because he knows how far 11 will go to help them, because he's probably still flashing back to the finale of season 1 where 11 basically sacrificed for what he thought at the time. She basically sacrificed herself and died to save them against just one Demogorgon. Now they're going up against a much, much bigger, more powerful monster. So, like, who knows what could happen to 11 if she's not careful. And I think that's
and
what
then we
he's
get this,
seeing.
yeah, and we get the scene, we get the part where Mike's like I don't want to, I don't want to lose her again. I love her, and no, I think it was more like a situation of like kind of also a realization of Max and Nancy, and like, oh, like Mike does really feel this way. And then Elle literally walks out the room like not even like 2 seconds after he said that, and it was like kind of awkward. I'm like,
Just that awkward silence of like, "Oh, should we say something?"
but did she hear that? I don't know. Like, um, yeah. So Elle found Billy, and I was gonna make the comment too that Will is suggesting that the Mind Flayer might have all the chemicals that he needs because they can't find anyone else trying to eat fertilizer or chemicals. So Will does suggest that earlier. So Elf did find out where Billy is, and they said Billy is at home, sitting alone on 4th of July, and they're all like, "Yes, goddamn trap. We all know this."
Yep.
Lucas is like, "Let's go on guns blazing and kick their asses." And then who reminded? I think it was Max. Was like, "You mean let L kick all their asses because we can't do shit?"
Yeah.
Because as we saw from last time.
Oh yeah.
So the so they're all kind of contemplating what they should do. And as Elle's looking at the box of Lucky Charms, you had a flashback of her mother's flashbacks, and it's like, oh, if Mom did that to me, maybe I can touch in with Billy.
Yep.
So Elle finds Billy in the void, sitting alone in his room, just kind of zoning off, and she touches him, and then we get these flashback scene. Well, let me back up. He's like she's trying to talk to Billy himself. That's what I kind of gathered from this.
Yep.
And Billy lets her in, and she has a scene where she's like kind of falling backwards, like kind of screaming. I thought she was in trouble when that happened. And then she finds herself on a beach. And no, then we get the scene where like, oh, Billy's surfing in California with his mother. The mother's watching. I was like, oh, go for 10 more minutes. Like, be careful, this riptides. And then we get the part where we're seeing kind of Billy's trauma with how his father wanted him to be a baseball player and how he's not living up to his expectations. And kind of like being pretty much was put bluntly, an abusive parent. And
he was very abusive. I mean, he was calling him a pussy. I'm assuming it was at a baseball game or practice or something. It looked like a game from the little bit they showed, but Billy just basically storms off, and his dad's calling him a pussy and saying that he'd just be a complete failure, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously a little bit fast forward, we see him beating the mom. I guess maybe she was cheating on him, or she just was seeing a friend or something, and the dad just took it completely the wrong way. Who knows? But he says like you saw him again or something like that. But he's just beating the shit out of her. So he was just a complete asshole, and we see that still even I don't know, it's the first or second episode, but where he basically throws Billy up against the wall and it's like cursing at him, and telling him that he needs to behave like a gentleman and stuff like that. His dad's just
And
a
go fight
complete
Max.
asshole.
Yeah.
But
No, definitely.
it's definitely the first scene this season that it's finally the first moment where they're trying to humanize Billy a little bit and actually show like, yeah, he's an asshole, but there's a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically
Yeah.
just becoming his father.
Yeah. The circle of trauma continues. The cycle of trauma continues for
Yep.
him. So, and then, so Elle keeps walking deeper into the storm that she sees in this beach, and as she goes deeper, the scene she sees gets more angrier and aggressive. Like definitely, it's like it looks like the storm kind of breeds off of Billy's hatred.
Yeah.
So then we finally get to the moment where we're seeing Billy get taken with a mind flare and stumbles across a steel mill and like him getting pulled. And I thought it was very fitting where the eye of the storm, where it's the calmest, is the steel mill itself, which she
Yep.
kind of sees. And uh, the guy's like, okay, no, we don't know. Jonathan goes finds like, okay, I found the location, I found the address of it. Well, we're good to go. Mike tells Elle, okay, no, come back. And then Elle thinks she comes back. And then we get Elle in a room with no one else. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then we get Billy showing up. I'm like, oh shit. And
Yeah.
Billy's much like the mind flare now is messing with her. It's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. I know where you are now.
Yep.
And the creepy thing that I thought was the mind flare telling Elle that he's been building something for her and that they're going to end it, which includes everyone she loves. So it was very much like I know you and Mitchell kind of alluded to this in a conversation with us. Was like, oh, bigger things happen in season 4, which kind of ties everything together. I'm kind of curious how that is.
Yeah.
Because the mind flare alludes to it here.
Yeah.
So,
I won't say anything.
and then good job not saying anything, sir. So then after conversating, we can see all of the flayed become activated and start marching over to where they are currently. So, and so they start marching all the steel mill, and they all start becoming into goop one after another in a line. And we get a fully formed mind flare bursting out of the basement, which where the title comes into Pluribus Unum. No, of many, one. We
Yep.
have one mind flare made of many different goopy humans.
I'm very excited for you guys to actually
Cool.
see the mind flare in action in the next 2 episodes, because this scene does not give justice to the size of the mind flare. It's much bigger than you're anticipating with how they show it in that camera angle. But the mind flare is here and he's not going to fuck around. So, what'd you guys think of that ending? What do you think is going to happen next? I know, Connor, you've been curious as to what's going to happen, how they're going to tie the story arcs together. We're down to the final 2 episodes of the season. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, obviously a huge ass fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if they're going to try to use the Russians' technology against the mind flare.
The technology being the key,
the laser beam thing, because with any because Alexei I have to make the comment. Lexi knows how to turn on and turn off,
Yep.
and it could be a situation where if a key can open a door, a key could possibly even unlock a door too.
Yep.
So I'm kind of curious if that would be a situation that could come up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nick, any thoughts? Any crazy theories?
at this current moment, I don't have any like wild, outlandish ones. Um, but I guess really just for now, like now seeing the mind flayer, like finally about to be in action, like I'm just kind of, I guess, excited to see like how they combat it this time, because
Mhm.
with each season they obviously go through like, oh, what's this monster, how do we kill it, this is what we have to do. So it's like now we're at that part where it's like, oh, how do we defeat it. So I'm curious to
Yeah.
see how that is, because like I have a theory that I'm currently working in my mind as we're talking, but
Okay.
nothing that I can speculate on as of
Now,
right now.
now I asked this last season with characters, and obviously we got a whole new influx of characters, and we're in season 3. Do you anticipate any major deaths in the next 2 episodes? Do you anticipate anything crazy on that aspect? Because obviously, season 2 we had a big surprise death with Bob. But do you guys anticipate anything like that happening?
So if you
And if so,
guys,
who
if you
is there?
remember last week, we kind of talked. I think this was technically off. When we weren't recording, but I think I was telling you guys, like, in my personal opinion, I think because to me, Billy is the one that gets flayed first, right?
Mhm.
Am I wrong in
Mm-hmm.
that, or okay?
Yeah, you're
So
right.
to me, my theory is that because this monster, the Mind Flayer, is of one, since he is the first one, I'm thinking that my thought is that Billy's gonna have to like die or sacrifice himself in some way.
You're putting
That's
Billy
my
up on the
thinking.
kill board.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think Billy's making it to season 4. That's
Okay.
I want to make
my
a comment
prediction.
too because I definitely agree with you on that, Nick. But I definitely do think Billy is still in there because the fact that we do get the scene where when L comes back up from active memory,
Uh huh.
we do see Billy crying,
Yeah.
and I think that was Billy like, no, actually showing some humanity of like remorse and like he's aware what's going on, but he can't control it.
Yep.
And yeah, it could go either one or two ways of like, oh, Billy making his last stand, or the flip side of the Mind Flayer actually using Billy as its own puppet, and then like kind of I was thinking like, oh, it's going to infuse Billy into his body, like Billy's going to be the talking mouthpiece for the Mind Flayer.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and that's the
Theory?
thing is like the I guess too, like the way that I also see it is that we've seen evidence, and I can't name names, but we've seen people that are flayed, like quote, die, and they are turned into goop. Obviously, we don't see that of Billy just yet, but like we saw Heather, we saw everybody else. Why not him? Yeah, so we see like the thing that I guess bothers me, or what I picked up on, is that when Billy is looking, I guess, at like everybody, turning into goop and I guess dying, it's like everybody else but Billy turns, to the goop and then becomes a whole of the flyer. So I guess that's kind of why I think that Billy has to be the one to I guess, sacrifice or die, because I feel like that's where the connection is currently between the Mind Flayer and the world. Like Billy's the connection, so in order for, you know, the two sides to stay where they are, it's like the middle's got to get cut off. So
I think it's
that's
funny
my
how the
theory.
mind Flayer basically is using all these people to create a clone of itself in the real world.
Yeah.
And he's basically just using Billy, and he can see the version of himself through Billy's eyes. Like, it's my clone. Go
Yep.
unleash hell.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
I
yeah,
kind of it's kind of interesting too. Like you kind of think of like Billy as the main host too, and like everything he
Yeah.
is like everything's done through him.
and I think it's beneficial for us that it is Billy in this situation and not Will, because I feel like if it was Will that was the main host, it would not have been as effective this season, and it probably just would have made us hate the monster so much more. So I think having Billy as that main body, I think was definitely much more efficient and acting wise better.
Well, it
Especially in
could.
terms of capturing people. Yeah.
Well, like,
Absolutely. I don't think Will's getting anybody.
but also it could very be like the directors realize that like, oh, Will isn't as great like uh as a host, like acting as one. That they might have did like possibly change the script up a bit too to have Billy be the main host. I'm
I
kind of
would
curious. I'm kind of curious if that did happen. I feel like Mitchell would probably agree with that, possibly.
Mitchell would obviously assume that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's like Venom. Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta find the right host. If the host is not suitable, then you gotta move on.
Uh,
So speaking of moving on, any other crazy predictions, or do we want to give our ratings and wrap this bad boy up?
let's start ratings. I have nothing else to predict at the moment.
Okay,
No, I think I'm good.
so
We'll
then
save a crazy one for next week.
sounds good.
I'll start. I am going to give this a. I'm giving it an 8.7.
Okay,
I think it was definitely not as high as the others. Nah, 8.6. I think it was equal to the premiere because like I didn't think it was as high as the others. Like I thought it was a good episode, but like the pacing this one was a little different, and like I didn't think that. Again, great episode, but it's not. There's definitely times it wasn't as engaged in this episode it was compared to previous, would say, four. So
Yep. And Connor, thank you for giving an 8.6, because now I can use 8.7. The
you
entire
can both
time
be,
I'm sitting here like, son of a bitch. Now I
you could get
gotta.
you could
yeah,
give the same
yeah,
score,
you,
you know.
you are allowed to give the same score, Nick. That is allowed.
But it's happened multiple times. So now the whole thing is like, damn, am I just like taking the score of somebody else? Or the entire time I'm just like, no, 8.7. That's how I feel. And then he says 8.7. I'm like, fuck.
Nick,
um,
no one's going to be sitting here going, unoriginal score. I'm just
he's copying. Yeah, let me go. Let me go 8.777. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, there
Yeah,
you go Mitchell territory then.
no. Just an 8.7. Um, really, for I think also you mentioned spacing of it, Connor. I think many of the reasons why I give it an 8.7 is because for me the entire, I would say, like, middle of the episode for me like can be kind of just like skipped almost in a way, in a sense where like I didn't find entertainment in it, because that's the part that had, 11 and Mike and, and that crowd. So for me it was like, it was a good beginning and then a good end, but the middle was just like, eh.
The middle was literally filler.
Yeah, yeah.
I almost feel like this was put in purely as a filler to stretch out the season because they had nothing else to put in. Because the whole entire opening scene is a direct continuation from the ending of the last episode, especially with the hospital scene. I feel like that whole section could have been just added to the end of the last episode and having this episode start with them at the house discussing trying to figure out where Billy is. Like, but having that in is the only part that really made this episode good, is having that crazy action stuff in the beginning, setting the stakes really high. But then outside of that, it's just kind of slow and not really much going on. We get a little bit of stuff with, the fair being set up, which is obviously going to be important in the next couple episodes. We have basically Alexei being interrogated, but that was kind of entertaining but slow. We get a little bit of Billy backstory, which again, it wasn't really anything exciting. And then we finally have the end where we get the big monster reveal, and again, setting up the next two episodes. So I think it really was just the only major filler episode we've had this season. But for that, I'm going to give it an 8.4.
All right. Definitely lines up with what we've seen earlier from you. And then Mitchell predictions.
I'm going to go an 8.47 as my prediction.
Nick?
I'm going to say 8.56.
I have no justification. That's just the number I'm guessing.
8.56.
Yeah, I'm going 8.56. I think Mitchell will be in the same ballpark as we are.
Yeah, I had 8.62 for it. I think I might go a little higher.
Very close. Wow.
I think I will be high in this though. I have a feeling that I'm going to shoot past the pin.
Okay.
That's my fear. So open your text messages. So now I won't be ruined.
What is your official number?
8.62.
Okay. All right. Mitchell texted me. So drum roll. The Mitchell rating of this episode is 8.81.
Wow, he was the highest out of all of us.
Connor, you locked it in, which is kind of surprising.
Wow. I was definitely wrong.
We're going to have questions for him next week, but I'm very surprised with how high that rating was.
Especially since he rated the second highest out of a whole season.
Yeah, this was definitely not the second best episode of the season by any means. We have questions.
Yeah.
Just spend the first 20 minutes of the next one just grilling him. Why did you score this way?
That's exactly what's. I'm even putting in the show notes. Grill Mitchell.
Roast Mitchell.
Because I think it's the first time where Mitchell has been higher than everyone.
And Mitchell is very critical with how he rates things, and with how all three of us kind of agree that this is pretty much a filler episode.
Yeah,
I'm surprised why he doesn't see that as well.
Season 1, episode 4, he was the highest in that one as well. He rated that one at 9.0.
Interesting.
I rated that one at 8.9. So we were still in line with each other on that one, but still.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. Mitchell's ahead of the game on this one. Maybe he saw something we didn't.
Well, we would definitely ask him when we do the recording next time.
Yep.
So, as always, follow us on our socials on Instagram and Twitter. And without further ado, that's it for us. Have a good one. Confirm.